I saw the Ferraris on intermediates. It looks like it's stopped raining, certainly outside our commentary box window.
Should we ask Ted, Mr. Damp Kravitz?
Let's do that.
Charming. Just because you met Keanu Reeves, now you're calling us poor guys who have to stay out in the rain. It's all Hollywood with you, isn't it, Crofty? All right, okay. Well, listen, hopefully it's going to be bodacious and not bogus for the Ferrari. They know something about the British weather that the other teams don't, and they've gone at the end of the pit lane with some intermediate tyres. They're joined by Zhou Guanyu, and there is Max Verstappen. I can see Lando Norris. Now the Mercedes are coming down. What I'm told from the radar trace, I don't know if you've got a line on it up there in the commentary box, is that it is not going to rain significantly harder for the next 10 minutes in this session. But they're not going to risk it. And there we go. Oh, Charles can't find a gear. No, he has finally. He's found a gear. And they're off.
Marvellous. You mentioned Zhou Guanyu. He was on pole here in 2019 in the F2 feature race. Finished third that afternoon. Called this his second home, and his second home race then. Settled in Sheffield when he came over as a young man to learn karting and begin his single-seater career. Absolutely loves it here at Silverstone, and for the second weekend running then has got that Alfa Romeo into the top 10. Here comes Sergio Perez, and there behind him Martin Nicholas Latifi. We'll give him one last mention for the moment. Into Q3 then, for the first time this season, his first ever Q3 appearance, because he was top 10 in Belgium because of others having penalties.
Yeah, good for him. So the intermediate runners now it's stopped raining, but they've still got to be careful, like in turn 5 of the standing water. It's still going to be around for 2 or 3 laps until they start edging it out further and making that sort of dull grey area a little bit wider. So a little bit of risk in the first flying lap, then the track should come to them now the rain's eased off.
Previous wins in Great Britain features Verstappen, Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel in 2018. Previously here at Silverstone, we've seen Lewis Hamilton on the front row for the last 8 consecutive races at this famous track. He was second fastest in Q2. Could he, after getting his best qualifying of the season last time out, 4th in Montreal, go a couple of grid spots better, line up alongside Verstappen tomorrow?
Possible shower right at the end of Q3.
Or can the Ferraris do something about it? Or can George Russell do something about it? Or can Sergio Perez or even Fernando Alonso, the 5th driver over the age of 40 to qualify on the front row in the history of Formula One, last time out? Surely they're all in with a shout.
And the acceleration on these things, especially in qualifying trim, it's just relentless. It must be terrifying in the rain. And Max Verstappen already grappling with the car there. He hasn't actually started the lap yet. There he goes now.
So let's go with Max Verstappen then. Pole last time out in Canada.
Lando, latest information, possible rain in 5 minutes. Reality is we're really not going to know the best time of the track.
So it is down to the driver to keep drip feeding those conditions and those reports back to the pit wall. On the throttle, Verstappen getting all squirrely there.
Yeah, he's very trigger happy on the throttle, isn't he, in the early part of this lap. This is where the standing water was. They've got to be careful of, otherwise they'll be off the track and won't get a decent time. Leclerc fastest so far in Q3 in the first sector. So you can see that's gone green now because Verstappen is faster by a margin. By
about 0.2 of a second then from the 2 Ferraris. We can watch Charles Leclerc making his way along the old pit straight. Max Verstappen following on behind. Who else is out there currently? Zhou Guanyu in the Alfa Romeo. Decent first sector from him. Lando Norris a little bit slower through that first sector in his McLaren. Everyone bar Nicholas Latifi has come out so far in Q3.
Max, I think, is 2 seconds faster than most of them through the first sector, with the exception of George Russell. Leclerc with a very good middle sector so far. He's a little bit further up the road. But Verstappen tippy-toeing through the standing water and nailing it big time, where there's a bit more confidence and grip.
We can watch the 2 drivers that have been competing at the front for pretty much most of this season so far.
Oh, it's going round.
Oh, Max Verstappen spins round and manages to correct it and keep going and gets gasps and oohs and then a round of applause and cheers from the crowd, but that's ruined his lap.
Yeah, he's been threatening to do that, hasn't he? We talked about trigger happy on the throttle. The back end would not live with his torque demand there. And he goes again, but of course he'll have used his battery up down hanger straight there.
So just when you think it's all looking good for Max Verstappen, he reminds us just how difficult it is out there. Guan Yu with the fastest lap. Lando Norris goes second fastest. I said Joe was going well. Hey Joe, fastest so far in this session. Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, Verstappen, and then Hamilton. The 6 times that we've had so far. George Russell goes above Max Verstappen, not surprisingly. Verstappen with that spin. Perez now goes 4th fastest. Fernando Alonso is finding pace, and we can ride on board with the 2-time former champion, and he puts his Alpine a clear distance between himself and Guan Yu out in front.
Just the 3.2 seconds then. So it's about who's prepared to really risk it up against the key areas of standing water. And I think it was just too much throttle that caught Max. I think we're standing water there, but this track will just keep, if it doesn't rain again, better and better and better. But who can take the risks? Who can keep it on the road? If you run slightly wide, say you're then carrying way too much speed.
Track's improving, drying up, says Sergio Perez. I can see clearer skies from where the weather is coming. So the track drying up, the weather conditions looking better. It seems like it's stopped raining for the time being, but they're still struggling out there as Carlos Sainz goes fastest by 1/10 of a second and onto provisional pole.
Yellow flag sector 1, somebody's gone off in the first part of the lap.
Charles Leclerc won't mind about that. He's in the final part of the lap, and he is out in front. And Max Verstappen all looking a little bit bumpy on board for him as he rides the curbs. Verstappen goes second fastest, splits the 2 Ferraris, but by what, 3/100ths of a second? He can't find provisional pole. It was Nicholas Latifi, Martin, who spun and continued on at turn 1.
Yeah, we haven't seen that, but it's up on the computer. So how close do you like it at the moment between Leclerc and we saw Max having some struggles, didn't we? He actually ran across the runoff area there.
Well, running off the runoff area, that should get his lap time deleted.
Is that a corner they're monitoring like that?
Well, it's everything, isn't it? It's the white line.
Yeah, it is.
It's the white line these days. So technically, that might be a lap time deletion for Max Verstappen, because even though he ran off the track, he still went second fastest. So he probably didn't gain an advantage at that point, but they've been fairly consistent and have race control whenever guys have gone off the track.
I think Max is about to try to make that irrelevant, frankly, looking at his first sector time. But he's really pushing hard, isn't he? He's just leaving nothing on the table, and the table's throwing him off every so often.
He's got the bit between his teeth, certainly, and the determination to make amends from some earlier mistakes. 1.6 seconds faster through those first 2 sectors. When he finds that grip, he puts it to very good use indeed. Now this is where he got it a little bit wrong a couple of laps ago. No problems that time around. Down to the Vale chicane we go. Charles Leclerc is the car ahead of him. You can see that rain light blinking away. That's much better from Max Verstappen. Lewis Hamilton now finding pace too on his latest lap. Lando Norris is going quicker. Verstappen fastest and into the 1:42s. Smattering of applause from the crowd that I can see from our commentary box for that. Why not?
Still 2.3 off Max's Q2 time, showing you just how wet it is in places. And Norris goes second then. This is going to be exciting right up until long after the flag has dropped.
Dare say there'll be more of a smattering of applause for that. Lewis Hamilton back onto the front row again. George Russell, his teammate, right behind him, 3rd fastest. Next through the gloom of Guan Yu and Sergio Perez. Joe stays 9th fastest. Perez goes up to 5th fastest. And whilst we look at all that, Max Verstappen going even quicker through the first sector.
More rain is expected, just keep pushing.
And whether it is or not, I think it's right for the pit bulls, Martin, to keep saying, keep pushing, because you never know.
Give them the news. Pushing he appeared to be, didn't he? But yeah, I mean, there's nothing given now in this qualifying session. Absolutely nothing as to who can suddenly find some grip and pump a time in and believe in keeping the throttle down in some of these critical areas.
Max Verstappen scored 150 out of a possible 164 points in the last 6 Grand Prix, looking a decent bet as it stands for pole position here at Silverstone. But his closest rival is Lewis Hamilton. And what did Nigel Mansell say about that home crowd? Worth a few extra tenths of a second? I'm sure that home crowd are giving Lewis Hamilton great support around the track. Charles Leclerc, top 4 in every previous appearance here in a race at Silverstone, now 2.5 tenths behind Verstappen.
Yeah. Mercedes haven't had a top 3 grid slot this season so far, extraordinarily.
First time in their history, and you go way back to the 1950s as Carlos Sainz almost gets it very out of shape, coming through the left-hander of Aintree and down to the Wellington Straight. First time in their history Mercedes have gone this long into a season without a top 3 starts. Well, at the moment, they're on for a front row because Hamilton's just gone behind Verstappen again, and look, only 2/100ths of a second.
Yeah, there you go. And Leclerc is faster than anybody through the first second. That's just been beaten by Verstappen. But if they keep edging that standing water away, they'll be able to really go for it on their final attempt. But who will cross the line first, or who might get an extra lap in?
Just looking here, Fernando Alonso is just starting his latest flying lap. That might be Alonso's last flying lap. I don't think he's going to get another one in after the one he's currently on. The rest should all be able to finish and get another lap in. Ted.
That's what they're discussing on the team radio with Lando Norris. They're saying, look, positioning-wise, we'll only get one more lap here. So just careful what you do. They all want to be starting their last lap in the driest conditions. I know that sounds obvious, but it's trickier than you think when you're out there. You're just running the whole session. So some of them are backing off now in order to be quick on that last lap in the best of the conditions.
But you don't want to back off too much because your tyres could get cold in doing so. Sainz goes provisional pole, 1:42.1. Charles Leclerc then puts 8 tenths of a second between him and his teammates. So it's Leclerc, Sainz, Verstappen, Hamilton. Here comes Verstappen, round clock, crosses the line, back on provisional pole. He's found 2.5 tenths worth of improvement on Charles Leclerc.
Yeah, it's not that much though, is it? There's still 44 seconds to go, so this will be his final flying lap. Norris up into P3 as well then for McLaren. That's a great lap. It's going to change yet.
It certainly is. Just looking, Sergio Perez should be the last one to cross the line and still have chance to do another lap. Here's Fernando Alonso into Stowe. Just trying to look at the times. If they've got it right at Alpine, he will be the last man to cross the line before the checkered flag, but it's asking a fair bit as Verstappen quickest in the first sector once again. His teammate Sergio Perez now goes 3rd fastest. Perez, who has never qualified in the top 5 here at Silverstone. Alonso gets to the line, goes 5th fastest and gets to the line with 2 seconds to go before the flag. That's it. Everyone on the lap now. This is their final lap.
So yeah, Fernando will be the last one over the line we've been talking about, but what have we got here? Sainz then, a great middle sector for him. He's currently down in 6th place. And we got a yellow flag that's quickly cleared away.
Charles Leclerc spun momentarily, and as you say, quickly cleared away. That is going to cost Charles Leclerc a chance to improve, though. So Carlos Sainz in that middle sector, has he done enough now to get that provisional pole and hang on to it? We've seen it get snatched from his grasp at the last moment so far this season, but there you go. Carlos Sainz, big round of applause for him. He goes over the line and is on provisional pole.
Verstappen's middle sector not particularly good, and he looks a little bit out of shape in the final sector too.
So can Verstappen get that provisional pole back again? No, he can't. Doesn't improve his time. Carlos Sainz, his former teammate Toro Rosso, has that provisional pole. Charles Leclerc only 3rd fastest, still out on the track. Hamilton and Russell and Sergio Perez.
Yeah, let's keep an eye on the 2 Mercedes drivers. They're on personal best. So is Zhou Guanyu, but he's a little bit off the pace. It's the McLaren and then Hamilton then up into P4.
So Hamilton crosses the line P4. George Russell is only going to be P8. Carlos Sainz, for the first time in his Formula 1 career, is looking at a pole position here. There are some crossing the line. Perez is one of them. Beats Hamilton, goes 4th fastest. Hamilton down to 5th. They've all crossed the line now. Let's say it. For the first time in Formula 1, in his 150th Grand Prix start, Carlos Sainz is on pole.
Good for him. He was struggling, wasn't he, in Q1? He seemed to be nowhere, but he pulled that lap out of the bag just when he needed to. Great lap. I'm so happy for him to be on pole.
after. Good job. No way. 3-1, baby. Let's enjoy.
I didn't expect that one. I felt terrible out there. How did I do 3-1?
Yeah, you keep it together like a smooth operator.
Yeah.
That's the first time I've ever heard a driver take pole and go, I felt terrible out there. I didn't think that was going to happen at all. Well, where we left off in Montreal, let us continue here at Silverstone. And a round of applause for Carlos Sainz. The crowd absolutely loving that qualifying session. We love the closing stages in Montreal. So let's have 52 laps of battle resumed.
Yeah, it was who could get the last lap in without making a mistake. Max's middle sector was half a second shy of where it needed to be, and then he had to push in the final few corners, and it wasn't quite enough. Young Carlos Sainz there, banging it all out, and Leclerc made the error. Perez pulled a lap out of the bag, didn't he, for fourth? And so I think fifth and eighth, I think Mercedes is going to be quite disappointed with that, actually.
I think they felt that there was improvement to come in those closing laps. Fifth and eighth, fifth for Hamilton, eighth for George Russell. That's going to be Lewis Hamilton's lowest start since 2014. When on a drying track, he didn't continue on in the closing stages and lost a few places and started sixth on that particular occasion. George Russell, meanwhile, it is eighth. It's his highest qualifying start here at Silverstone. Started the sprint to the top 10 last year and lost a few places. But for 2022, Carlos Sainz, brilliant effort from him. Gets the congratulations from Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc, and I tell you what, that is a pretty handy top 5 on the grid, top 6 on the grid. Do you know what? It's a pretty handy top 7 as far as I'm concerned. Fernando Alonso, 7th fastest. Zhou Guanyu will start 9th on the grid. And for Zhou Guanyu, that's his highest start in Formula 1. Nicholas Latifi will start 10th for the second time in his career.
Yeah, Max, as soon as he gets his crash helmet off, will be scratching his head on that one because they look like they'd got everything covered for pole position. And when push came to shove, Sainz had what it takes.
And becomes the 104th driver to take pole in a World Championship Grand Prix. And you keep saying, Martin, we've got a really healthy Formula 1 here. Lots of exciting young drivers coming through, new drivers, new talent. The 5th new driver in the last 4 seasons to take a pole position.
It's great, isn't it? And yeah, they're so approachable. They're good kids. I said to him, because he used to live in the UK, he said, it's nice to be back in the UK. I said, oh, so you're going to go into London and get on the tube, are you? Like you used to do. And he was like, I think those days have gone. They're certainly gone right now.
Seriously, if he gets on the tube, there'll be a lot wanting to say congratulations to him. But the first one, I'm sure, will be Billy Munger, who's down on the grid with our top 3 drivers. Asking all the questions.
Carlos Sainz, your 150th Grand Prix this weekend here at Silverstone. Listen to that cheer, your first ever pole position. Sum that lap up for us.
Well, yeah, thank you very much. Well, first of all, thank you for the whole crowd for cheering. And thanks everyone for staying out there with this rain. Spaniards, we struggle a bit more with this rain, but you can tell that you guys are used to it. So thanks for being there. And yeah, it was a good lap, but I was struggling a lot with the standing water in the intermediate. There was a lot more standing water in the racing line, and it was very easy to get snaps and lose the lap. Also more difficult to get temperature into this intermediate with this condition. In the end, I put together a lap that I didn't thought it was nothing special, but just put it on the board and see how it is, and it was pole position with them a bit of a surprise.
Definitely special enough for pole position here at Silverstone today. Obviously, this season hasn't always gone your way. You've run into a few issues, but after Canada, which looked a lot more positive in a race, you've got the fastest lap. You ran Max a close way all the way to the line. What can you do tomorrow? How are things looking for the race? Can you convert this into your first ever victory in Formula 1?
I think so. Yeah, the pace has been there all weekend, except for FP3 that we had some issues that we think we have corrected them for quali. But if I base myself on my FP2 pace, then we should be in a good position to try and hold on to it. I'm sure Max and Charles will put a lot of pressure, but I will try my best, of course.
Well, hopefully, Carlos, tomorrow goes well for you. Good luck for the race tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Cheers, everyone.
So Max Verstappen, obviously today in qualifying their second place. Carlos just picked you towards the end. Sum up the qualifying session for us. It looked really tricky out there for the drivers.
Yeah, it was quite a tricky qualifying, you know, with the rain, and then also, you know, it was raining, drying, so you had to be at the track at the right time. But I think overall the car was working really well. You know, just in Q3 it's always a bit of a lottery sometimes. You know, when you have to put the fastest lap in, but I got a bit hindered in my final lap with the yellow flag, unfortunately. But I think still, you know, to be on the front row is very good for us, and we have a good race car, I think, in the dry and in the wet.
And obviously, when it comes to the recent form, obviously Red Bull have been on a bit of a roll between you and Sergio, winning the last 6 races. Obviously, tomorrow is where the points count. And what are your plans going into the first couple of corners? How aggressive do you plan to be with, obviously, trying to get the move done on Carlos if you can?
Well, I mean, it's not only about the first lap, it's all about the race. I think we have, like I said, a good race car. It's all about the tyre management as well. So, yeah, looking forward to tomorrow.
Well, good luck for the race tomorrow, Max. Charles Leclerc, obviously qualifying's just happened. Looked tricky out there, P3 for you. Qualifying's normally been your strong suit, so are you slightly disappointed that obviously today you didn't manage to get the top step?
Yeah, I am, but happy for Carlos. He did a great job today. Yeah, I spun in that last lap. I knew it was the lap where I had to put everything together, and I didn't as a driver, so I didn't deserve to be on pole. But P3 is still a good position to start in for tomorrow's race, and hopefully putting everything together, we can come back.
And last year in the race, obviously, you narrowly lost out on the race victory to Lewis Hamilton, obviously, who's a home favourite here at Silverstone. But looking to tomorrow's race, starting from P3, what's your plans? You've obviously got a little bit of ground to make up in the championship after a tough couple of races for yourself. So how do you plan on bouncing back and making those points up tomorrow?
Well, I think the base is there, so if we have a clean race, then everything should go well. A good start, and then obviously time management will be a thing too. I think the strategy is a bit mixed in between 1 and 2 stops, so it will be interesting to see whoever is going for the 1 stop or the 2 stops, but hopefully we'll make the right choice and we can come back to where we want to be.
Are you confident with the strategy and the tyre degradation? Obviously that, again, earlier in the season was something that troubled you guys.
I don't think it was a problem in the last few races. Obviously, we couldn't show it because we've had some issues, but hopefully tomorrow is the day.
Well, good luck tomorrow, Charles.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So that's been harming Charles Leclerc's chances, Max Verstappen's too, but it played into Carlos Sainz's hands, and confidence gained from his performance a couple of weekends ago in Canada in the wet, and he has taken his first pole position in his 150th Grand Prix start. Congratulations to the Spaniard. It's been a long time coming. He's got that off his back. He'll be really happy. I'm sure he will sleep well tonight. But there we go, Ferrari on the front row of the grid alongside Max Verstappen with Charles Leclerc in 3rd. What happened to the Mercedes boys? Lewis Hamilton down in 5th and George Russell down in 8th. Lando Norris in 6th. So we've got all 3 Brits inside the top 10, and we've got all this to look forward to in the build-up to tomorrow's race.
I bought the car some years ago and I was thinking, put it on display 30 years after Nigel won. It's the exact same car. You know, it's also his championship winning year. It's the red 5. I'm having the 5 on my car, so a lot of things that really excite me.
Going into our home race, more than anything, more than any other track in the world, is where I want to score a podium.
Yeah.
Even before Monaco and places like that, I always want to have that expectation that Silverstone can be the best weekend of the year.
Yeah.
But I am realistic a lot of the times. But I don't want to be this weekend. I don't want to be realistic. I just want to hope that it's going to be a
Dream big, dream big.
Exactly.
So you're racing British Grand Prix this weekend. How excited are you?
It's amazing. I mean, it's your home Grand Prix, so it's the one of the whole year where you get the biggest, that massive turnout, and British flag just everywhere. The energy is intense. I can't put it into words.
So, lots to look forward to tomorrow. Just another reminder of the details. We will be on air from 1:30, lights out here for the British Grand Prix from 3 o'clock. And elsewhere across Sky Sports today, right now on Sky Sports Action, International Rugby Union with the first test between South Africa and Wales. A little bit later on from 7:30, the first test between the Pumas, Argentina and Scotland. Fifth test, England against India, day 2. That's live right now on Sky Sports Cricket. And available now on Sky Cinema, Oscar-winning Will Smith is King Richard. Well, there we go. For the British fans, perhaps the disappointment that we didn't get a Brit on the front row. We'll have to make do with Lewis in 5th, Lando in 6th, and George Russell in 8th. But Ferrari very happy, so too Keanu Reeves. We might get a word with him, we hope so. Carlos Sainz is on pole.
Speed and agility. That's what gets you to the podium. This program is brought to you by Workday, regional partner of Formula One. Workday, a system for finance, HR and planning.
More risk. More profit.
Insiders tell Arsted both houses are looking into reports that more than a few pieces in his collection are stolen. Cut him loose before he pulls you down with him.
You want me to kill him? I don't think that's a very good idea.
The Art of More on STV Player. Find us in the on-demand section.
Making some of the world's fastest cars has evolved dramatically. Today, the McLaren F1 team uses WebEx to collaborate in entirely new ways. From the engineers to the drivers, all the way to the track. Instantly and securely. To push the boundaries of performance even further. WebEx, driving hybrid work.
Grand Prix start and a first pole position for Carlos Sainz. Here's how he did it.
Good job. Wait. P1 baby. Let's enjoy. I didn't expect that one. I felt terrible out there. How did I do P1? Yeah, you keep it together like a smooth operator. Yeah.
Well, only the second ever pole position by a Spaniard. The only other man to do it, Fernando Alonso. The last Ferrari pole was here 10 years ago, and it was Fernando Alonso's, and what a nice way to do it. 1992 world champion Nigel Mansell handing it over, and I should imagine that will be pride of place wherever he keeps it for Carlos Sainz, because it's been a long time coming, has to be said, Damon and Jensen, but thoroughly deserved.
Been quite a week for Nigel, hasn't it? You know, he's been celebrated everywhere he's gone, and now he's come and blessed the Ferrari team and Carlos Sainz Jr. is absolutely delighted, and so will his dad be. I mean, a bit of rally driving needed out there in those conditions.
Yeah, I mean, he was saying, look, us Spaniards, we're not used to this rain. Therefore, we might have got used to seeing a Dutchman or one of the Brits up there. It wasn't to happen today, but with regards to it, I mean, his form out here in the past, he's never finished in the top 5. He's had 3 retirements here, so yeah, very well done, Carlos Sainz.
Yeah, it was a really good job, and looking at his lap, there's so much standing water out there. Beckett's has gone from being this massively wide corner to really skinny, and you've got to use all the apex curve to get round it and not aquaplane. But no, great lap, very under control. A little bit of wheel spin out of turn 4, but apart from that, it looked like a pretty clean lap.
Brolly horns in here. You'll have to get underneath one of these. Choose one.
Just watch my eye.
Going down the back of your neck, because Christian Horner is alongside us. Is that the one that got away? It was just caught out, wasn't he, by the yellow flag?
Yeah, I mean, Charles had what looked like a half spin. Max lifted for the yellow, and yeah, I think he gave up about 3 or 4 tenths for it. So, but look, you know, congratulations to Carlos. He's always been demon in the wet. When he was a junior for us, he was always very strong in these kind of conditions. So, you know, congrats to him, and just pleased to be on the front row. And with Checo up there on the second row as well. I mean, it looked in the dry, it looked like it was going to be a dominant performance by the Red Bulls and Max, but he looked a bit desperate on the early part. I mean, a few offs and stuff, and lost a few laps. Did you tell him to
We didn't lose any
down?
laps, but he had one moment where he did a 180, and he only lost 2 seconds as he crossed the line. That was the ridiculous thing about it. So just coming around Stowe,
I mean, he styled out, didn't he?
You know, there you go. He looked pretty in control, but it wasn't part of the plan. But yeah, Max, he likes to find a limit, and it was just a shame he didn't get that last lap. But yeah, you know, to still end up on the front row after a tricky session like that is a good place to be.
I think even with that spin, he wasn't too far off the leaders, was he? I mean, he was going that well, wasn't
That's
he?
what I'm saying. I think he was only a
He
second,
stayed within track
second
limits as well.
1.8 off the lead time at that point.
Yeah, it seems that Formula 1 is throwing everything at us at different times this season, but no, I think he did a great job, and you guys seem to always run a little bit less downforce than the other cars. I don't know if that's the case here, but bodes well for the race tomorrow.
Yeah, we tend to definitely run probably a set down on where the other guys are, and that tends to work better for us in the race. So in these conditions without that downforce, it's pretty tricky around here. So I think both guys did a great job, and look, it was unfortunate with the yellow, one of those things, but I think it's going to make an interesting race tomorrow.
You got your sandwiched, obviously, with the Ferraris. I mean, you're going to have to sit down and work out what your tactics are. I mean, great start, obviously, is the way forward, but in the long runs, were you happy with the performance of the car when you got the dry running? Was it yesterday or today?
I think everybody had about a long run of about 4 laps yesterday, so
Yes, 4 laps, yeah.
so it's a bit of an unknown. But with Checo in there as well, it's there's so many dynamics to it, and I think if it's a straight dry race, then strategy and tire deck and so on is going to be crucial. This year we've seen these cars can follow closer, which is going to be crucial through Beckett's, and of course the beautiful British summer might just continue tomorrow as well. So
what's your forecast saying for tomorrow? Probably better data than we've got.
My forecast is going to be a scorching 20 degrees and
that's what you'd like.
Maybe 10% of a shower out, but you never know, it can change so quickly.
Obviously this was the first major flashpoint of last year, the come together of your driver and Max going to the wall off at Copse with Lewis. We haven't actually seen really too much wheel to wheel. Well, we haven't seen the respect between them, Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen, but as you're saying, if they can race close tomorrow, it's a pretty pacey corner, isn't it? There's a lot of those to be taken.
Yeah, but we've seen a huge amount of racing between those two guys so far this year, and it's been great racing between the two of them. So and in fairness with Carlos as well, I'd expect no different tomorrow, to be honest with you. So it's such a big crowd here this weekend. Disappointing to hear the boos, but that's the way it is. But hopefully tomorrow we can take the fight to the Ferraris.
Great stuff. Thanks, Christian. Appreciate your time. I look on missing out on pole, but still 2 inside the top 4 with Sergio Perez starting in 4th tomorrow. George Russell will begin from 8th. Here he is.
Well, George, despite it being your best quali here at Silverstone in Formula 1, I know you'll be disappointed with that.
Yeah, definitely. I think as the session progressed, everything just sort of got slightly worse, and I had really good confidence in Q1 and was in the top 3 for the majority, and then sort of didn't have that come Q3 when it
mattered. We definitely had the pace to be, the car definitely had the pace to be P4, P5 today. I made a mistake when it mattered on the last lap. So, yeah, a little bit disappointing, but there is definitely promise there. The pace this morning in the dry looked really strong. It's going to be dry tomorrow, and our pace at high fuel, I think, could be on a par with the guys at the front, but obviously starting down in P8 is not going to be an easy task.
Okay, so what is your target tomorrow?
I want to get past Lando and Alonso as soon as possible and try and join the fight at the front. I think there's no reason why we can't be in that fight, but a good start, and based on pure pace, I see there's no reason why we couldn't fight for a podium, but as I said, starting down in P8, it's not what we want to be.
Yeah, we missed a bit, didn't we, of the Mercedes coverage at the end there. So you explain what happened, but yeah, disappointment actually, you'd say, overall for the three British drivers.
Yeah, I think we all thought that Mercedes were going to be up there. We thought Lewis was going to be challenging for pole position, but P5 and P8, it's not horrific. They can still race well from there. We saw yesterday that race pace is good.
Yeah, I think this is the point, isn't it? Actually, we had a tricky session, and it wasn't always going to benefit everybody. But I know that Mercedes will be disappointed. I can tell George is really, that's George angry, I think.
Yeah.
At the performance.
As you see him, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but he clearly wanted better from that.
Will they have to try something creative then from those positions tomorrow, do you think, Mercedes?
I think they probably will with George. With Lewis, they'll probably have a pretty straightforward race. It's difficult to know what strategy is like, as they've alluded to already, with only 4 laps runs with the Red Bulls. I'm not sure what it's like with Mercedes, but yeah, it's a little bit of a step into the unknown. The circuit's going to be green as well because of all the rain we've had. So yeah, exciting race ahead of us.
Okay, let's get some reaction from the team. Ted is with their technical director, Mike Elliott.
Yeah, down in a, I think, reasonably contented Mercedes garage with technical director Mike Elliott. 5th and 8th, about right. You never could have been worse, could have been better.
To be honest, I think we were hoping for better. I think we had a decent P3. Looked like we were pretty quick then. And in some ways, for me, it'd be nice to see how quick we were in the dry. But a wet session is always a bit of a mix-up. I think we did the right job, got both cars through to Q3. And then it was all about being in the right place at the right time at the end with the tyres in the right position. And I think what you saw is you had to sort of build the temperature up in the tyres, and just trying to get that right, being on the right place at the right bit of the track at the right time is challenging. And I think 5th and 8th compared to where we've been is not too bad, but we'd hope for a little bit better.
I understand when Lewis came back in, there might have been a bit of a tape, a bit of blanking lost on the brakes that meant his tyres weren't as hot as maybe they might have been.
Not so much the tyres, but more the brakes. So in these conditions, you're trying to keep both sets of brakes at the same temperature. If they get too cold, they can glaze, and then you lose grip on one side, and it becomes quite difficult to manage the car then.
All right, and no time for any George heroics onto slicks like there were last time out. It's far too wet for that. But what do you think? Where do you think you can race from there? What are your thoughts on your pace tomorrow?
I think it's difficult to know. I think if you looked at our long run on Friday, not that it was much of a long run, we looked pretty decent. So we felt we made a good step from yesterday to today. If that carries over into our race pace tomorrow, we can have a decent race. But let's wait and see where we are. I think having made the upgrades we've made to the car, I think we just want to find out what the pace really is like.
Great stuff. Thanks very much.
Good stuff. Right, Lando Norris joins us now. Lando, 6th. Satisfied? Dissatisfied? Where does that sit with you?
No, very satisfied. To be ahead of one Mercedes as well, a car which is a lot quicker than us, and to not be far off Hamilton. I think he improved on the final lap, and I made a couple of mistakes, so not the best of jobs by me, but good enough, and I'm very happy with that.
Easy to do in those conditions, though. Where was it particularly tricky out there?
There's a few corners where it's like, if you're not at the right angle with the right revs and speed and everything, you just aquaplane and you hit the puddle slightly wrong, and it's a good 3-4 tenths gone immediately, which is what I did on my final lap. So tough, especially because the conditions are getting just better and better through the whole of qualifying. You need to kind of save the tyres in the beginning to be able to push at the end, which is never an easy thing to do, to always kind of save everything for those last few laps. But I did a good job, and I felt the team did a good job with giving me the correct information.
Was it like push and you then recharge and then push again, or were you able to kind of make a consistent run at it?
Like pretty consistent until the last couple laps. I kind of saved a little bit for that best lap that I did. I did 1 lap of recharge just to give it a final couple shots. Apart from the last lap, which I messed up. It was a good lap. Difficult because it's you put a little bit.
As well.
I have a lot of porpoising this weekend.
Yeah.
you put just a wheel offline, a wheel in the part which is too wet, especially on an intermediate, and you can lose a lot of time.
So where was the trickiest place on the track? I mean, watching it is always fun, but I know what it's like from the cockpit. It's a little bit scary in places when it looks like it's a lake.
Yeah. Where is it trickiest? Maggots and Beckett's, especially the Beckett's to the final part of it. That's where there's like the more streams and bigger puddles. And your worst nightmare is when you got a puddle, when you got like just the tiniest bit of steering lock on, because you know if you just hit it a little bit wrong, like you can be off very quickly. So this section, but all the high speed, you know, a high speed in the wet conditions with inters is always you know, you got to get a little bit lucky if you want to really nail it. But yeah, apart from that, though,
there's not a lot of high speed here, so it's fine.
No, I know. It's all slow speed.
How much energy are you taking for the British crowd? Obviously, you draw quite a crowd. It has to be said, Lando.
No, it's all for Jens and Damon.
Well, it has been all weekend. Yeah, three very popular Brits here. But yeah, what's possible tomorrow? What are the team thinking from there?
I mean, we've been in a decent place all weekend, which is a little bit surprising because I think we're the only team to not bring really any upgrades, and a lot of people have bought big things. So to be in that position is very good for us. To try and hang on is going to be the question for tomorrow. I'm expecting George to be coming past me quite quickly, but our races with Fernando, with Zhu, maybe not so much to Williams.
He's probably quite angry with you, isn't he, George Russell? After you said he's not as funny as he used to be. Now he's at Mercedes.
It's a fact. His jokes aren't as good anymore. So.
You behave yourselves tomorrow, won't you? We want to get as many Brits up there as we can.
Please don't. We want to see the fight.
Who will I fight? I think it'll be a good one with Fernando.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be my main target tomorrow is probably Fernando. George is, I'll probably just wave him through, you know, make his life a little bit easier. But the rest will be a good fight.
Good stuff. Thanks, Lando. Appreciate your time.
Cheers, guys.
Good luck tomorrow. Let's hear from Lewis Hamilton in the pen with Natalie.
Well, Lewis, there's a real buzz about the car coming into this weekend and the early stages of this weekend. How do you reflect on P5 today in really difficult conditions?
Yeah, I don't know where the buzz is coming from, but I know everyone was working hard to.
I think it was hope.
Yeah, there's always. Well, I mean, we brought some parts to the car, but it wasn't necessarily a big upgrade. But it was definitely an improvement for us, and it seemed to have closed up a little bit. I think in the dry we wouldn't have been able to compete for like top 3 or anything like that. But I think in the rain we had a chance today. But
why so?
Sorry?
Why so?
In the rain, you're not as fast in the high-speed corners. There's less bouncing, and in the dry, obviously you're carrying a lot more speed, so then you have more bouncing, and the bouncing's making it pretty bad for us.
Okay, so how does that set you up for tomorrow, given that it is probably going to be dry?
Well, our race pace was a little bit better yesterday than our single lap, as it seems to be more so the case, and I guess that's also because you're going slow through the corners again. So yeah, from 5th is going to be tough, but I'm going to try and work my way forwards. I'm a little bit gutted, really, because obviously we had such a great crowd here, and I really felt I was pushing so hard to get on the front row and fight for pole position today. And I think we could have been in the top 3. Honestly, I think I was gunning for 2nd at least, and so to end up 5th makes tomorrow tough. But I know I've got this amazing crowd with me tomorrow, so I'll try and push forward.
Thank you.
Well, I think we all thought that Max Verstappen was just going to cruise to pole position, didn't we? When we saw the Mercedes, though, go out behind him, I think it was those two and Lando Norris and Fernando Alonso last across the line. I got the thought process with a drying track. We thought we might see one of those two up there on the front row. It wasn't to happen, though, today.
No, it wasn't. I mean, obviously, Max's lap was hurt. Charles' lap was hurt because he spun off. But no, it's great to see a mixed-up grid. And I think it's what is fantastic with F1 at the moment. It's not just one car that's going to keep sticking on pole. It's a real mixed-up grid, and we don't really know what to expect.
The other thing, of course, as Lewis just mentioned it, is the race pace. I mean, they struggled in qualifying to get their pace. Today was a little bit of an unusual one, but they've always been quite good when it comes to the race. And we saw in Spain how their pace picked up. If we have a dry track tomorrow, they may still be competitive.
They may be, but I mean, I was reading somewhere earlier what Mike Elliott said. He poured cold water on that thing. They can't win this. He's not going to be able to get his ninth, which is disappointing for the British fans.
We'll have to spoil it.
It wasn't me, was it? It was mine.
Who knows what's going to happen in turn 3?
Exactly. Who knows? Exactly. I just wondered, though, just following up on that question I asked to Christian, with the cars able to follow so closely here at Silverstone, I mean, it could be epic tomorrow.
It could be, and lap 1 is going to be epic, because even last year you could follow closely, as we saw up until Copse. But yeah, I'm really excited for this race. It's going to be a green track as well, which makes it even better, because when you're offline, on the inside, it doesn't hurt you as much as it would with a really gripped up track. So yeah, should be a good fight tomorrow.
Okay, we saw Keanu Reeves quite a lot, didn't we, on the coverage? Let's hear from the man himself, the Hollywood A-lister. He's with Martin.
Keanu Reeves, great to see you in the Formula One paddock. We saw you trackside as well during qualifying. A bit wet out there.
It was wet, but it was thrilling. It was absolutely amazing to be that close. Silverstone in the rain, perfect.
What impresses you most about these Formula One cars?
I mean, I think being that close to it, just seeing the speed and the way that they go into the turns and exit the turns is something unbelievable.
Now, I know you love motorcycling, for example. You're a bit of a petrol head. You've got a motorbike collection. You've got a motorbike company, Arch, where you make your own bikes. So tell us a bit about that.
What are we doing? We're doing custom performance cruisers, big V-twins, American, and they're just really amazing motorcycles to ride.
Who are you with here this weekend at Silverstone? Who are you guest of?
You know, we're being hosted by Ross Brawn, and
Formula One themselves.
Yeah, who's just been a legend, and he's such an amazing person, and so it was really cool to get to meet him, spend some time, and he offered us the chance to be here today.
Fantastic. So I'm reading maybe a documentary on the Brawn season, mentioning Ross from 2009. Is that in the offing?
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. We want to kind of tell that amazing, remarkable story.
Yeah, I mean, 1 year as a team, effectively, team name, they win the World Championship and then sell on. I mean, there's so much to talk about.
There's so much to talk about. I mean, you were there, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. We commentated all the way through that remarkable season.
Yeah, I mean, from the outside, just kind of a friend of mine was telling me the story, and I was so struck by it, and he was actually working for Brawn back in the day in publicity, and he's a producer director, and so we were like, well, let's tell that story. Let's try and tell that story, and it's been really great to be able to learn more about what was going on in Formula One that year. It wasn't just the cars, new regulations, FODA, breakaway series. I mean, there was just so much happening in Formula One at that time.
There was a point when the team were looking like they were actually going to close down, let alone go and win a championship.
Yeah. I mean, just the world of Formula One was just extraordinary. I mean, it's always extraordinary, but in that year with Brawn GP, I think something really special happened.
And we know you from great movies, like obviously you made The Matrix and John Wick and that, but this is a documentary, I believe, that you're looking at.
It is, yes, a documentary.
And which role would you play?
I'm the host, sir. Hopefully I'll get to talk to you, and I'm going to be the interviewer. I'll be interviewing you.
We swap roles then.
Yeah, man.
Good stuff. Are we going to see, I don't believe you can stay for the race tomorrow. Are you coming in tomorrow for
I'd love to, but a friend of mine, it's his 50th birthday, so it's dinner with his mom and a bunch of friends, and so...
Bring them along here. Celebrate the birthday, yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
But anyway, really good to see you, and thanks for talking to us on Sky F1.
Thank you very much. Honor.
Yeah, it was a good season that, wasn't it, 2009? He managed to do that entire interview without mentioning the winner. Are you involved in this? Do you hang out with Keanu in the Hollywood Hills?
We've spent a bit of time together already, yes, and a lot more, in a couple of weeks actually. So yeah, I'm involved with it as well. So it should be exciting. It's just reminiscing is great, and there's obviously a lot of footage that nobody's really seen as well.
And what role will you be playing, Jensen,
in this documentary?
I'm going to be acting as myself in that one. Yes.
Okay, brilliant. When can we expect that? A couple of years' time, will it be?
Now you're asking.
Okay, right, brilliant. Maybe we'll go to the producers of that one. Interesting as well. I like the way you went out into the tipping down rain without even a brolly. That's Keanu Reeves for you.
Yeah, and he wasn't even in the posh paddock. he was in the other pit lane watching the races, soaking wet. So no, he's a massive fan of the sport, and he's really passionate about it, which is great. So I'm really looking forward to working with him.
It's not just greasy hair then. It's not a motorcyclist.
No.
It actually was wet hair.
It was wet hair. Okay. Right, let's hear from a couple more drivers. Sergio Perez will start from 4th tomorrow. Fernando Alonso from 7th.
Well, Fernando, we thought we may see a repeat of Canada's heroics again.
It was close.
It was close. Did you feel like that you had it in you to do that today?
I felt that it was time to
to deliver again some risky laps. At the end, we misunderstood, I think, each other in the radio with the team, and we didn't know how much time left for the final push. So I crossed the line, I think, with 3 second margin, but with no battery, because I emptied the battery on the previous lap. So effectively, I crossed the line first, not last, in the previous lap. And I think it cost me maybe 4th or 5th. But yeah, with Luis, with George around me, I think that's unrealistic to qualify in front of them. So I think we are more in our natural position, 7, 8.
Okay, so if it doesn't rain tomorrow, and it's a big if, because you can never predict this weather, how competitive is the car?
It feels good in dry and wet, but good to fight for, 7 or 8. So I think we start in our natural position. Let's see if there is some action in front of us that we can benefit. If not, it's more try to secure those points and keep an eye on the people behind.
Thank you. Good luck tomorrow. Checo, you talked about being on the back foot earlier in the weekend. Considering that, P4 is a very strong performance, isn't it?
Yeah, I think, look, to come away with a second row start with these conditions is not the end of the world. I think we can race from there, and hopefully, we are able to have a strong race tomorrow, get a good start, and we can be in the fight for the race.
I mean, absolutely, because your race trim is magnificent. It's a circuit that you enjoy, so you can fight for the win.
Yeah, certainly. You know, we can go from there, and hopefully we are able to be strong.
And just tell us how tough it was out there in these conditions today.
It was very tough. You know, the conditions were changing. Q2 for me was very tough because I didn't get a good first lap. I had Daniel ahead, and then it started raining very much. So I nearly got out with it, and I nearly went out of Q2. So it could have been a disaster.
Good luck tomorrow. It wasn't a disaster. So good luck tomorrow.
Yeah, inside the top 5 for the first time here at Silverstone, Checo, in 11 attempts. But it's interesting, isn't it, what Fernando was highlighting there, the importance of getting the fully charged lap at the right time. I think that worked out for him.
Yes, it's tricky trying to judge the laps anyway, because you want to be the last one across the finish line, because that's when the track's at its driest. But then also trying to figure out when to recharge in between and when to have the slow lap and the fast lap. So it's a shame because he would have been in the mix a little bit more, but 7th is still pretty good, I think, for the Alpine.
We were watching him at the start of the session, and he managed to give himself almost half a lap on everyone else. So they all went out, drive the track for him, and then he had a nice clean run, and he was up there right at the top end of the charts. And I thought, he's got this right, but clearly he's 1 lap of miscalculation. But he crossed the line with like 3 seconds or something to go, so maybe he probably got an extra lap that he didn't think he was going to get.
We're going to keep a very close eye though on rows 3 and 4 tomorrow, aren't we? Because that's all 3 Brits and Fernando Alonso, and you know how spiky he can be at the start.
He's going to be feisty, isn't he? He's definitely going to have a good go at it through turn 1, 2, 3 and 4. It's always a fun place anyway, but yeah, with that talent all together, it's going to be pretty mad.
Great stuff. Okay, let's hear from a couple of the local teams, if you like, Williams and Aston Martin. Most of them out in Q1, apart from Nicholas Latifi, first time into Q3.
Well done, Nicky. I mean, amazing performance. Was it always going to come to you at some stage? I mean, you've had to wait a long time for it, but did you feel like it was always there?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go as confident to say that I was expecting it to come with how the year's gone so far this year. It's obviously been very, very, very tricky for sure. I mean, whenever you have a day like today with the rain, you always hope you can make the difference. But I do always say, even though, especially with the experience last year, of having some very strong team qualifying performances in the wet, a fast car in the dry is still a fast car in the wet, and a slow car in the dry is still a slow car in the wet. But there is many other aspects that people could get right or wrong. And I think we just managed as a team to get the things we needed to right at the right time. And I think the track positioning was very, very important for both Q1 and Q2, especially when the conditions deteriorated. And it was just feeling good for me, to be honest. I mean, you always hope that when it feels good on track, that the lap time translates into that. And it hasn't been the case always so far this year, so it was nice to see I was always where I kind of wanted to be and hoping to be. And Q2 was already a great achievement, and Q3 was, I think, more than we could have hoped for.
Is it a bit confusing, though, for the team, given that you're not carrying the upgrades?
I mean, we'll see what happens in the debrief, but I think naturally in the wets, you know, it's always going to be, you know, we see cars qualify out of position.
Yeah,
in
they
the,
can't
in the,
show, the upgrades can't show them
all the time. Yeah, so I think if it was a dry session, it probably would have shone through a little bit more. And you know, again, am I the 10th fastest car on the grid on paper? Absolutely not. So this, you know, the cars with much more downforce that are behind me. So again, it's not been, let's say, the easiest weekend for the team to really understand and quantify what this new upgrade package is bringing, especially with the wind. I mean, it's making very noisy aero data for the guys to go through. But there are some positive signs we've seen already from it, so that's obviously encouraging. And obviously, look, I'm watching it with a keen eye as well, because I know I'm going to be getting that in a few races. But yeah, for today, it's obviously nice to be ahead. It's nice to be, like I say, Q2, Q3, and yeah, we'll just see what we can do now tomorrow in the race.
Fight hard to stay there.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Well done. Well, Alex, your face says it all, and we heard on team radio just how frustrated you were with the cool-down laps. Just talk us through that.
Yeah, it's a tricky one because obviously I think last year a lot of the time when you do cool-down laps, it's you need it for the intermediate tyres. The tyres respond quite differently this year to previous years, and truthfully speaking, it was a quite simple thing. I think we just shouldn't have done a cool-down lap when we did it. Obviously, we were trying to get the last lap in the best place, trying to get the tyres in the best window, which is normal. It's just I think the track was a little bit too cold, a little bit too wet today for it to work, and yeah, you know, it's frustrating because I think every time we crossed the line, we were normally in the top 10. We were actually pretty competitive out there. It was we only dropped out at the last bit when we did the back-off laps. And yeah, on my last lap I had less grip than the previous lap, so it was just, yeah, a frustrating one.
Jost has said before that the frustration has been that qualifying performance has inhibited you and prevented you from showing the real pace of this car in the race. Now you've got this whole raft of upgrades. Is that a concern for tomorrow, or do you think you're going to have the chance to sort of carve your way through the field?
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess it is disappointing. I think we didn't give the update a true showing today, but yeah, no, you know, it's all to play for tomorrow. This circuit is actually it's easier to overtake on than other circuits. We didn't really do a long run at all this weekend, so we're a little bit unknown, but we'll give it a go and see.
Thank you. Good luck tomorrow. Thanks. Well, the morale within the team was very positive coming into this weekend because of the upgrades. Where did it go wrong today?
I'm not sure. It just didn't have grip, and then I mean, at the end of the session, we put a new set of tires on. I had a terrible outlap with traffic and stuff, and it's all about generating temperature on the outlap. So with only one push lap at the end of the session, I had, you know, stone cold tires starting the lap. I lost a second in the first sector, recovered 2 seconds in the last sector just because of the track improvement. So there was obviously still a lot of lap time on the table, but still, yeah, I mean, we just looked like we were on the back foot throughout the whole way of qualifying and not really, yeah, competitive.
Bad luck today. Thank you. Well, Sebastian, we heard on team radio just how frustrated you are to be out again, and you know, problems in Canada.
All of us, you know, we've been pushing. We are pushing so hard, and with a Saturday like this, Sunday gets really difficult. But now, you know, it is what it is. We turn the page and try to see what we can do tomorrow. But for sure, just looking at today, it is disappointing.
Tyre pressures seem to be a problem in Canada for quali. Is it the same issue today?
No. I think we learned our lesson from Canada, and it wouldn't happen again. So I think today, in all honesty, we're just slow, and we need to see why, and yeah, understand if there was something that we were missing.
Thank you.
Verstappen, congratulations. So that's his first pole position in 150 attempts. He must be pretty chuffed.
It's congrats to him. I think it's well deserved. I think it's getting more and more confidence with the car. He had a good weekend in Canada, but the quali was not so great in Canada. I think that getting the confidence that you stay more calm, and I think that the fact that he has been on today, because he stayed calm in difficult and tricky conditions where you need to keep the temperature in the tires, get the right moment, track condition, etc. And being patient, being there at the right moment, and good luck.
You mentioned Canada. I mean, did it give him a boost, do you think? Did you see a more mature, a little more confident Carlos after that race?
I think Canada has been important for him, both the quali and the race. The race to give him the confidence that he's fast, and the quali again try to reflect what was wrong, why he made a mistake, why he couldn't somehow get the poles that maybe he got the potential for it. And I think it's again here staying calm and not overreacting, and I think is what he did today. And very similar conditions. I think he learned from Paul in Canada, and he addressed it and showing again that he's a good learner and he's improving.
Did you expect that pace in qualifying? Obviously you didn't know in the wet, but in the dry, would you have expected to be that competitive?
I think that in the dry this morning Max was very fast and very competitive. We are a bit behind, showing that somehow here it's very difficult, and I think tomorrow's race can be a different picture to the quali. But still coming here in Silverstone in such a difficult weather condition, difficult track, being P1 and P3 is a great result, showing that overall the team, the drivers and the car can be competitive. And now stay focused on the race tomorrow, strategy, 1-2 pit stops, no idea which tires to choose, no idea again. I think there can be different scenarios out there. And tires management, we know here, front left, always an issue for the amount of energy. And
oh, you think there's a problem with the tyre wear, do you think? Because we've seen in the history of this race, we've had problems with tyres, haven't we?
Yeah, certainly here is one of the track where you are putting a lot of energy into the fast corners in the tires, and you need to manage that. So it will be an issue, a concern at least, or something on which you need to take care and to manage for the best tires deck. And I think that will be very interesting to see tomorrow.
Just one final quick one. Where do you stand on the state of the championship now, Matteo? Obviously, it's been a turnaround from Charles being a long way ahead to now behind. But do you think you can still keep the championship fight going to those Red Bulls?
Honestly, I think the way it has been this season, I think yes, because obviously they won 7 races, only 2, but there are a few races where leading and we had a reliability issue. So I think it could have been easily a 5-4 or a 4-5. So I think the battle is very tight. And why not? There is still many races to do, and reliability is a concern for us, but it can be a concern for them as well. Each single race needs to be done and finished, so we keep pushing and let's see.
Thanks, Matteo. Best of luck tomorrow. Really appreciate your time, as always. Let's hear from the pole sitter. Here is Carlos Sainz.
Congratulations. I mean, just magnificent. How did it feel out there? Because it didn't look easy.
It was not easy at all. That's why I was probably surprised on the radio, because it is so difficult to keep the car on track with these intermediate tires with so much standing water that you need to give yourself a bit of margin in some places, and you always feel like you could go a lot quicker, no? And yeah, giving myself a bit of margin did pay off. And the other side, also on the straights, I was losing a lot of lap time because I ran out of batteries. So I said, probably not enough. But then it was enough, so yours must have been struggling too.
Amazing. Do you feel that Canada was a breakthrough performance of the season for you, just in terms of how comfortable you now feel with the car? And does that therefore put you in a position that you can convert this first pole to a first win in Formula One?
I think Monaco, Baku, Canada, those 3 weekends were already a step better than Barcelona, for example. My biggest doubt was coming into Silverstone, being a track a lot more similar to Barcelona. If that I could translate that pace into good pace again, that feeling into good pace. And I did for FP2. FP3 I struggled a bit more, but we found some issues in the car. So hopefully the pace is back to where it was in FP2, and I can call it a breakthrough.
Good luck tomorrow.
So his long wait for pole position ends. Congratulations to Carlos Sainz. Alongside him on the front row of the grid tomorrow, Max Verstappen, then Charles Leclerc in behind. The Brits starting from 5th, from 6th, and from 8th. What we hope will be an epic Grand Prix tomorrow. Sprint race in the F2 is next. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Sky Sports F1. Feel it all.
The ability to accelerate through change
is what separates the leaders from the pack.
Formula One on Sky Sports, sponsored by Workday. Workday, a system for finance, HR and planning.
Oi, Rita! It's time to face the music and make tax digital!
I don't trust tech.
Fear not! QuickBooks customer support gets you real help from a real human!
Real humans. I like those.
The only way is up, baby. You and me now. Hold on, won't be long now. The only way is up, baby. 2 for £7 on barbecue classics and tasty modern twists. Make every day taste like holiday.
At Macmillan, we're tough. Tender. And sometimes clowns. Whatever it takes to help people living with cancer. But we can only do it with your help.
I need to figure out who I am. My superheroing days are over.
You ever feel lost? Just look into the eyes of the people that you love. Not me.
What? Just listening.
Here at Tails.com, every dog gets their own unique recipe. Made with our highest quality ingredients from over 1 million possible combinations, we use precise nutrients tailored specifically to your dog's needs. And with the taste they love. All delivered monthly to your door, for free. Try your dog's unique recipe now, with 50% off your first box. Come to Tails.com today, and tell us all about your dog.
This is the Kenko Aficionado. Legend says that he's created a smooth barista-style coffee by grinding each whole bean with his bare hands. So, out there they may call him the Aficionado, but we just call him Mike. Hey, Mike. Kenko, Aficionado since 1923.
With Sky Store, there's something for everyone this July.
Let's do this. Today's forecast calls for a 100% chance of adventure.
Hey, you! We're the bad guys, the villains of every story.
We all have monsters within us.
What's happening?
It's up to us to control it. What if I can't? I did what I had to do to protect our world. Things just got out of hand.
With over 10,000 movies at your fingertips, Sky Store is your ultimate movie collection.
Look at the state of that Mercedes car! The checkered flag will come in the nick of time, and a record 7th British Grand Prix victory. It's Lewis Hamilton who takes the race.
You know the ingredients for a fast lap?
Well, speed and agility, of course.
Formula One on Sky Sports, sponsored by Workday. Workday, a system for finance, HR, and planning.
It is always frenetic on the streets of Baku. We're racing in Azerbaijan. Into the lead goes Frederick Vesti. Deruvalos powering from P3 into the race lead. Dennis Hauger risked it all. Look up for the race leader. Deruvalos wide. Frederick Vesti takes the lead. Oh, big crash there. Frederick Vesti is the winner. Perfect start for Yuri Vips. Into the wall go Nissani and Bolakbasi. Armstrong's nudging Yuri Vips along. Oh, Yuri Vips has hit the wall! Here's the moment for Dennis Hauger. Winner, chicken dinner, baby. What an extraordinary round of Formula 2 action.
Hello everybody and welcome to Silverstone for round number 7 of the FIA Formula 2 Championship. The sprint race coming up for you today. here from Great Britain, the home of British motorsport here at Silverstone, where the drivers are going to have to negotiate this historic 5.8-kilometre circuit, which provides 18 corners and 2 DRS zones, giving plenty of opportunities to overtake, but also lots of places to make mistakes as well, as proven by Ralph Boschung here last year during the loop, where he went off and spun into the path of Alessio Delida, putting them both out of the race on the first lap. However, on the flip side, as we talked about, lots of opportunities to take. You wouldn't think Mackens and Beckett would be one of them, but Liam Lawson went round the outside of Oscar Piastri to prove all of us wrong, and Richard Bashaw took advantage of the second DRS zone to go down the inside of Liram Zandeli to make a place as he charged through the field. Fantastic racing last year, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of fantastic racing this year. My name's Chris McCarthy. To call you through the action, alongside me will be Tom Gaymore. Tom, we could have a first-time winner this year in Jehan Darubla, a first-time winner ever in Enzo Fittipaldi, but for the first time this season, we're going to be going racing in the wet.
Yes, lots of ifs and buts, and the first bit of news is we'll be starting behind the safety car here at Silverstone. Track temperature still only 20 degrees, air temperature 14 now after the deluge of rain that we saw in Formula 1 qualifying just a few hours ago. It is overcast, it's cold, it's tricky, it's late in the day, it's been a long wait for the Formula 2 drivers. This is going to be a challenge, and here's how they line up.
Well, starting from first place will be Jehan Darubla, second here in 2019 in FIA F3, alongside him Enzo Fittipaldi, who was on the podium at Imola. Then we have Yuri Vips, second here last year, alongside Jack Doohan, who has a podium so far this year. Ayumu Iwasa on his debut here will be fifth, alongside Liam Lawson, who won in the wet last year at Monaco. He will be next. Teo Pourchaire is seventh. Felipe Drogovic, your championship leader, is next. Frederick Vesely, off the back of his personal best result, is ninth. Logan Sargent, the first American to take pole in FIA Formula 2, comes next. Then it's Marcus Armstrong in 11th and Dennis Hauger in 12th. Jake Hughes on home soil will be 13th. Roy Nassani with the 3-place grid drop will be 14th. Richard Verschoor, a former winner here, is 15th. Ollie Caldwell will be 16th. Clement Novalak moves up to 17th. Marino Sato moves up to 18th place. Chen Bollock Bassi on his debut here is next. Kaylen Williams, who turned 22 this week, comes next. And David Beckman, who subs in for Amory Cordial at Van Amersfoort Racing, rounds out the field. Now, we have no Ralph Boschung, sadly, due to the neck pain that he has been suffering from. Unfortunately, he has had to pull out of the event. So, sadly, we will not be seeing Ralph Boschung.
Yeah, sore neck, and if you're wondering how much of an issue that is for drivers, once the neck goes, it's almost impossible to keep your head up, not to mention the pain, and you just can't circumnavigate that as the safety car leads the field away. What to expect in this race, right? It's 21 laps or 45 minutes. It's really tricky. Silverstone could be very, very slippery in places. They'll look and search for the grip, try and cool those tyres down. Will there be somebody who pits early and tries the slick tyre? Well, we're nowhere near that yet, but with a bit of wind and some cars running around this track, 21 of them to be precise, it will draw out. Listen to that Aston Martin safety car.
Well, after qualifying yesterday, we caught up with the drivers who started on the front row. So let's go and hear from them now, starting with Enzo Fittipaldi.
There's chances of rain, big chance of rain, so it's going to be tricky. Goal is bring it home and get a good points for the championship and hopefully a win.
A good start is important to get in the lead, and I think we have a good race car, so we can control the pace and try to win tomorrow. That's definitely going to be the goal.
I think Enzo Fittipaldi is the man you got to go and get the lottery numbers for next week. Absolutely predicted the rain was coming in. Now, safety car start, how does that change your approach, Tom, as a driver from back in the 60s when you used to race? How does it change your approach?
the 60s. Well, when I was racing, the goggles really did steam up in these conditions. Now, first and foremost, Enzo Fittipaldi, well, you don't have to be a fortune teller to say British summertime, Wimbledon, British Grand Prix, it's always going to rain at some stage during the weekend, or, as the locals would say, a bit of liquid sunshine. The big challenge, and one or two getting in touch on Twitter, you can tweet in at Tom Gaymore or Chris McCarthy32. Rome Davis saying, do you think the wet tyres will overheat? Yes, they will. So if this track continues to dry, then what you're going to see is a dry line forming, and you can already see the race leader there doing his level best to keep offline to try and keep those wet weather tyres cool. And that's what you're going to go and see, and then it's a case of, can anyone pit and make the slick tyre work? Well, it is nowhere near that yet, but that's the sort of dynamic that we're looking at. It's really hard, no DRS of course, but hard to hit your marks here at Silverstone in the dry. It's even trickier in the wet. Momentum's really important, and you can easily make a mistake around this track. It's very cool at the moment, and as you can see, the runners now continuing to try and preserve those wet weather tyres, because although we're behind the safety car, still a formation lap, then we might, you know what, this is still classed as a formation lap. It's 2 formation laps, of course, because of the wet weather, but I'm wondering what we'll see in the way of a start off the back of this second formation lap, whether or not they will release the cars or do a full month on the grid.
The clock hasn't started yet. I mean, we run to a maximum of 45 minutes. Now, one driver I look towards here, Tom, is David Beckman. He's subbing in this round for Amaury Cordial, who is serving a ban. He's got nothing to lose. He's the super sub. Surely, if anyone's going to take a gamble, it's going to be the number 25 Van Amersfoort car, the black and orange of David Beckman.
Yeah, the problem with the gamble is it's got to be on. You can't just recklessly go and do it, and that's the challenge. And if it's on, you might not be the only one looking to do it. That's worth pointing out. But yeah, it's a good point. Listen, if you're going to roll the dice, it's going to be someone alternate further back. Safety car lights are out because this is the second of the lap, so we will be going green, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be the rolling start.
And very quickly, Tom, of course, we've got the soft tyre and the hard tyre. For those of you who weren't with us in qualifying yesterday, the soft one we didn't use last year. So there is, not only if you gamble, it's whether you use the soft or the hard.
Yeah, they only get two sets of softs. They've used both of them in qualifying. They have to use them in tomorrow's feature race. That's going to be dry, so I don't think we'll be seeing people gamble with the soft, but I could be wrong.
Well, that's something we'll keep an eye on. I guess it depends what stage of the race, but Jehan Daruvala now takes control of the pace as we come on to the hangar straight. Enzo Fittipaldi doing his best to go with him. You can see Jehan Daruvala there, the Red Bull Junior, now takes control of the pace. Enzo Fittipaldi behind, Yuri Vips is there in third place. Jehan Daruvala will get his foot down now coming into Stowe, and that will get the race underway as we make our way down towards Vale for the first time. Jehan Daruvala leads us. He will lead us in towards the braking zone. We've got Fittipaldi next, then it's Vips, then it's Doohan, then it's Awassa in fifth, Lawson is sixth, then it's Pourchaire, Drugovic, Vesti, Sargent rounds out your top 10. Fittipaldi already getting out of shape there, coming on to the start-finish straight, just showing how out of control they are. But this is the first time now they're taking the circuit on a racing speed, so this is their first real challenge at the Silverstone circuit, so hopefully we get them all through in one piece as they hit the anchors coming in towards Village for the first time. Hopefully we get them all through there nice and safely. We can see Jack Doohan in fourth place trying to close in, and Yuri Vips in the silver, but that was a very controlled start there from Jehan Daruvala, and he's got a nice gap over Enzo Fittipaldi as he makes his way down the Wellington straight for the first time, Tom.
Yeah, Doohan already going to cool his tyres. If you see cars darting to the inside, not necessarily to defend, but fairly cautious start, and 20 laps to go in this race, of course, down from 21 laps because we had 2 formation laps, but it is Daruvala who looks strong out front, and he went reasonably early. That's what we saw in the F3 race earlier on. Martin doing the same. It's it's a conventional restart here at Silverstone. And the spray evidence, it's very, very hard. It looks simple from here, but when you're in the spray, you can barely see the steering wheel, and it just doesn't clear. It's not water as such, it's almost like a film, a fog, and it's very, very difficult to navigate your way in the faster elements of the circuit. On board with Jake Hughes, I was talking to him earlier. He wasn't best pleased after qualifying, and they were going to throw the car upside down in terms of setup and try and meet a halfway house, but he was almost looking forward to rain because that'll take away some of the imbalance and open the form guide up, if you like.
We'll keep an eye on Jake Hughes then. Brilliant start from him, as we can see doing there, just trying to fill the mirrors a bit to try and find the best line. This is the first wet race of the season. We haven't had a full-blown wet race for a long, long time now. We have to look back towards Monaco last season, and it was Lawson who won that one comfortably. So keep an eye on Liam Lawson in 6th place, the Red Bull Junior, as they come through the first corner for the second time. Some drivers who have graduated into the class this year as well. This is going to be their first time racing in the wet conditions in FIA Formula 2, and moved down the inside there from Frederic Vesti. I think that was on Felipe Drugovich. Drugovich in the orange MP Motorsport car in the white and black. Vesti trying to go round the outside, side-by-side contact there, almost there, and Vesti unable to get through, but he could have the run now down the Wellington straight. You can see Drugovich trying to close it off. Vesti thinks he's found a gap down the inside. Is he going to be able to get through? It's going to be a battle on the brakes now. Vesti goes all the way to the inside. Can he get it stopped in time? Yes, he does, and that's Vesti through into 8th place, Tom, but it's not over yet. Drugovich trying to get the switch back. What a move that was from Vesti.
Fooled everyone, including himself, I think, because when he went to the inside and hit the brakes, he locked everything up. He had to come out of the brake pedal, as we see how bad the visibility is heading up to Cops, and managed still to get the car slowed down. That would have surprised him. Got a lot of adhesion when he got back onto the brake pedal, but this is Felipe Drugovich battling it out onto the Wellington straight. Now, he went defensive, but just didn't close off quickly enough or anywhere near enough, and once Vesti had his nose up the inside, he was well, there he is appearing, but it was very, very close to not getting the car stopped, and he would have been relieved once he got back on the brake pedal, having released it from the initial lock. The adhesion and the grip was there on the inside line, and Drugovich, he's the championship leader. He's got a big advantage. The last thing he wants to do is see that advantage disappear, but he moves down a spot now to 9th.
Vesti has just gone purple through the second sector after that as well, so Vesti absolutely flying off the back, of course, of winning last time out. So we'll keep an eye on that ART driver now behind his teammate Teo Porcher. Jack Doohan looking handy in 4th place here in the blue there. We'll keep an eye on the Virtuosi driver as he comes up towards Village once more here now on lap number 3. We can see leading the way, Jehan Darubla hasn't won a race so far this year. Charouz haven't won a race around Silverstone ever, so what a result that would be for them. This is Ayumu Iwasa on his debut at Silverstone, doing a really good job so far, but just struggling, isn't he, Tom, to hold touch with those top 4. The top 4 seem to be escaping, and Jehan Darubla has just put a gap now over Fittipaldi. If anything, it's Fittipaldi who's going to be looking in his mirrors at Vips.
This could be a race of two halves, you know, because what you do to take out some tyre life in these initial laps might come back to bite you later on in the race. So it's really important that they try and limit the surface temperature. And what I mean by that is you can't go past the slip angle, and you can't spin those rear tyres up. Anything like that is going to really work the surface temperature of these wet tyres, and you know, that's the last thing that you want to do. So being quick on lap 3 might not mean you're quick come lap 18, and of course you need to be quick at the end of the race to hold off any attack. So it's going to be interesting to see if this dries, how quick it dries, and who is taking tyre life away from those important those wet weather tyres. Now that's Teo Porcher, who's looking pretty